for the people that ain't here. Hey Zeke, hey Rod, what's up, y'all?
Blizz. Nothing much.
Blizz. Okay, family. Can y'all see me sharing the screen?
Yes.
All right, family. So let's see where we finna go. All right. So can you see it? The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna start out with tablet 1. I'll read page 6, then we can interpret it. Then somebody could volunteer read page 7. We'll do it like that. That way I save my voice and Okay. So it says, I, Thoth the Atlantean, master of mysteries, keeper of records, mighty king, magician, living from generation to generation, being about to pass into the halls of Amenti, set down the guidance of those that are to come after. These records of the mighty wisdom of great Atlantis. In the great city of Kaor, on the island of Undai, in the time far past, I began this incarnation. Not as the little men of the present age did, the mighty ones of Atlantis live and die, but rather from ion or eon, you could say eon to eon, did they renew their life in the halls of Amenti, where the river of life flows eternally onward. 100 times 10 have I descended the dark way that led into light, and as many times have I ascended from the darkness into the light, my strength and power renewed. For now a time I descend, and the men of Kim, it has in parentheses, Kim is ancient Egypt, shall know me no more. But in a time yet unborn I will rise again, mighty and potent, requiring an accounting of those left behind me. Then beware, O men of Kim, if ye have falsely betrayed my teachings, for I shall cast ye down from your high estate into darkness of the caves from whence ye came. Betray not my secrets of the men of the north, or the men of the south, lest my curse fall upon ye. Remember and heed my words, for surely I will return again, and require of thee that which ye guard. Ashe.
Ashe.
Okay. Do y'all want me to? I could continue sharing my screen if you want, or you want me to come off of that and then go back for, how y'all want to do this?
You can leave it up. That's my vote.
Okay. Yeah, that might work better
Yeah.
so everybody could see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. So I can't see y'all because, when I'm sharing my screen, I can only see the screen. But okay. So that's the first page of tablet 1. All right. Now, who would like to discuss what they got from that, or the passage, or what you're feeling when you hear Thoth, Tahuti, Hermes, did a lot of different names because he was thrice born. What are you feeling when you hear that, or what is your interpretation, or whatever you want to make it, just go.
When he says 100 times 10 have I descended the dark way that led into light, I know he's talking about the halls of Amenti. He's going down to regenerate. So 100 times 10, that's over 10,000 cycles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my understanding is that down in the halls of Amenti, of course, I have read on a little further than most people, but my interpretation is whenever the vessel that Thoth is in starts to wear or wane, he goes down into the halls of Amenti, deposits that vessel, jumps into another one, and comes back up, so that the previous vessel can regenerate or whatever, what have you. And so I've seen this hall, as I told y'all before, in my vision when during that time when I was fasting, had that vision. And at the time, I had no idea what it was, but after doing some research and listening to some people that's more knowledgeable about it, my understanding is that it's not so much as some of it is metaphysical and some of it is actual physical, because Thoth was given a gift or given a choice as to what he wanted to do. And he chose to be the enlightener or the light for men, to be the, what have you, what's the word I'm looking for? Teacher of men. And so that was the gift he was given, eternal life or whatever. So if you move on down a little further, he's talking to the people of Kemet. Well, another thing that caught my attention was when he said that before they were in caves.
What part is that? Is that on is that on his first page? Or are
Yeah,
you going further ahead? Okay.
I think it's on. Yeah, you read it. I'm trying to look for what paragraph is in real life. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, right here. I see it. It's in the third paragraph
30.
down.
So those people.
Did you all see that? I kind of blew it up.
So then beware, O men of Kim, if you have falsely betrayed my teachings, for I shall cast you down from your high estate or your proudness into the darkness of the caves from whence you came. Where are there caves at in Kemet? Was he talking about the Kemet here or the Kemet over there?
He talking about you got to understand geography. He talking about here.
Okay,
This
so
is Egypt. You have to
that
understand
makes
that now.
sense.
Yeah. So he has to be talking about over here. And if you understand, then you understand the Egypt that they telling you is Egypt over there is just a satellite colony. But the real Egypt is right here, North and South America.
Right.
That's why we got the oldest temples, the oldest pyramids, and everything like that.
Right. So it makes more sense for him to be referring to this Kemet.
Yeah, us. We the Kemites, or what's the name that start with the M? Somebody help me because it's leaving me right now. The name before we was called Kemites.
Right. So,
All right, with an M, M-I.
so if people came from caves,
Say that again.
I said they took a lot of the artifacts that's over here, over there. So
Right. Exactly. To confuse you. Mm-hmm. But go ahead, Rod, and finish.
yeah, that drew my attention when he spoke about, you know, people returning to the caves from which they came. And so that says to me that this text is more ancient than most people think or know of. we've all heard the tales about people used to live in caves, and it's been attributed to the Khazars or the Ashkenazi Jews coming out of caves. But here he plainly says the people of Kim was once in caves. So that kind of struck me. It kind of pulled my attention a little bit. I'm gonna let somebody.
Okay. Who else? Who else got something they want to add?
Well, would he be also saying, as far as, because being that he keeps on talking about the caves, remember, we are not so far away from Russia, so we are connected to Russia, and that's the cave. That's, we could have marched them back over there.
True. We could be talking about a metaphysical cave too. See, let's take a step back. So the beginning, the first paragraph right there, he's basically saying that he's an Atlantean, right? Master of mysteries, keeper of records, mighty king, magician, living from generation to generation. If we read the preface, then it said that he got all of his, I guess, knowledge from being chosen and walking in the halls of the Menti and studying with the masters. If I'm correct, am I correct in that what the preface was saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my interpretation of that is this: as you know, or maybe we don't know, Thoth or Tahuti could travel through time, jump through wormholes and see stuff that, was to come. So I think that you were right on point, Rod, when you said that these books were made eons and eons ago, because I think they already had jumped and seen what was going to become of us Kemites, us people of Kim. And it's deep in the preface because it basically says that he was an Atlantean. So that means that he had to be in Atlantis, the Crystal City, where all the House of Knowledge was. And, Atlantis got overtaken by water and it got destroyed. And then all of the great people from Atlantis fanned out. You understand what I'm saying? They fanned out, and then they, took the knowledge and the technology and things that they had, and they came and they taught the, I guess, Kemites, but they had a name before Kemites, but taught the people of Kim the technology and stuff like that. In the preface, it says, when they arrived, the Kemites tried to attack him because, of course, they didn't know who he was, and basically, he did some magic on them, turned them into stone. And then the people realized, he was a master magician, a wise man, this, that, and the third. And then when he unfroze them, they kind of worshiped him. And he was able to, through these eons and incantations, teach the people and develop these tablets. So 100 times 10, that's like 10,000 or 10,000 cycles. I'm looking at that as 10,000 cycles of life, what we would consider a life. Y'all know we infinite. And this earth, Terra, done been here billions of years. You understand what I'm saying? So we talking about our first people. You understand what I'm saying? We was immortal then. We did live billions of years. You understand what I mean? For eons and eons. And I think that the way he's saying this is he's like, he's talking then about kind of like what's getting ready to happen now. Like, he's like, not, as the little men of present age, which is now, because we little, not only shrunk little, but we little in mind. He like, did the mighty ones of Atlantis live and die, but rather eon to eon did they renew their life in the halls of Amenti, where the river flows eternally outward. So basically, he talking about they had beat the cycle of life and death. Because, when you walk the halls of Amenti, you done crossed over to something else. You see what I'm saying? So he spent a whole bunch of time in another dimension. Do you understand? Like, he had to be not with this physical vessel to be in the halls of Amenti and gain the knowledge. And then he just choose another vehicle when he want to come up here and descend, as you would say, if you want to say it like that, to teach. You see where you kind of follow where I'm going? Because he's like, I descended the dark way that led into light. And many times I have ascended from the darkness into light, my strength and power renewed. So he's saying he done cycled, like you said, Rod, many times to me. And this is my interpretation of it. And somebody else can go with theirs. I'm just giving you what I got from this verse. But he like, I descended through the light and the darkness many times. So he's saying he done recycled many times. You understand? And he done beat the life-death cycle because he reincarnate when he want to and he decide when he die. And he even said in here that he gonna reincarnate again. If you listen to what it said, where he said that, he said, remember, and this last paragraph, he said, remember and heed my words, for surely I will return again and require thee that which ye guard. So when he's saying that, remember in the preface, it talked about that he had priests, remember, that carried the tablets, and the priests, the knowledge that held the knowledge and was supposed to, be doing what they were supposed to do with the knowledge while he wasn't here. So from what that sounds like to me, is if you a holder of the knowledge, you understand what I'm saying, and you out here misleading the people. He basically saying, in his next incantation or whatever, that those souls going to be held accountable. And what we have to realize, I think, where this is deep is that he like, all of this is happening in a time yet unborn, right? He's saying in a time yet unborn, I will arise again. Like a time like now. And I think we think of him just as a physical being, which I think this is a physical being, but it's also a frequency. You know what I'm saying? A wisdom. You understand? I think when he left this vehicle, this time he went in the halls of Amenti again, down there gathering knowledge or whatever. So I kind of think when we travel there or when we get these downloads, like, we get in that same frequency of wisdom, like we are the guardians then of the wisdom. And if we not out here teaching the people again, the Kemites, I think when he do come back in the physical incantation again, because we're talking about two different things, that we're going to be held accountable for, number one, mislead, and number two, putting out false teachings. So I think when he say the darkness of the caves, that could be twofold. Maybe some people came from caves or whatever. That's deep. But I also have to think about when he sent his disciples out or whatever, or the priests. You remember the high priest in the preamble, it was talking about the underground race as well, that he sent the priests out not just for us but to teach them as well. Like, he didn't just come to Kim, he sent them out like all throughout the land. So I don't know. I mean, it's physical caves, and then it's the caves of darkness, like metaphysically our mental cave, like, closing off your light, like your soul, like, the caves of darkness, eternally, your light get eternally dimmed, you understand, from just a soul path. So I don't know. that was what I was getting from it. Is kind of like this first part is basically an introduction. He telling us that he lived many lives and recycled many times, you understand, and had beat the life-death cycle. That's apparent. If he had 10, 10 times, 100 times 10, that's how many life cycles is that? Like, good grief. You know what I'm saying? So, and I just think, like, this first part is kind of like a warning, too, to the holders of the tablets, to the holders of the ancient wisdom, that when his next incantation come, if we're not teaching what we're supposed to be, that we're going to be held accountable for, spreading false teachings, and we're going to get cast somewhere. Or, as I tend to think, you're going to go back to Solar and that's going to be it. But that's just my interpretation of that first part right there. And these cities, the last thing I want to say that's real deep, y'all should Google them, because this Kior and the island of Undai, man, when I looked on there on Google, and I got to do some more backwards homework, and I'm going to come back to the group with that. But I saw that in Australia, there's a sloth or whatever called a Undai, and also it's a damn acronym for the United Nations. So they use it. Yeah. So I'm like, this a little bit deeper. I got to go and do some research now, because, Australia is an island. And y'all know that they fucked up the maps. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yep.
It's something deep right there, y'all. But I didn't get to scratch the surface all the way. Like, I started looking at it, and then I had to go do something else. So when I come back to the group on that, I'm going to hit those two highlighted words right there, the city of Kior on the island of Undai, because something just stuck out to me about that sloth being named an Undai sloth or something like that. And I'm like, huh? And then I thought,
did you
go
peep
ahead.
this out? In that same paragraph, you're talking about the city and the island. Up under that, he says, not as the little men of the present age did, the mighty ones of Atlantis live and die, but rather from aeon to aeon did they renew their life in the halls of Amenti. So
Right.
he wasn't the only one
Right.
that
We
knew
was
what his place
immortal.
was.
Right. He's saying we was immortal. The Atlantean, listen, he basically saying the people of Atlantis was immortal.
Yep.
If you could walk, you understand, if you could renew your life in the halls of Amenti for eons, and for aeon, the mighty ones. So he's talking about the gods of man right here, where he came from, because Atlantis got destroyed, under the water, and then all of them, left, but he was still an Atlantean at the end of the day, and so he still held the knowledge of how to beat the cycles of life and death. So he was basically coming to the people, I guess you could say the Kemites, you understand, and then teaching them this great knowledge or whatever, which was the land of the blacks. So it's pretty deep.
Yep.
But whoever want to go next on this can go. But yeah, that was just where I was at with this first page,
So we on the second page, or we still?
Okay, so is anybody else want to give any type of interpretation of page one, this first part, or anything that y'all want to discuss
But
before we move to page 7?
But isn't Atlantis, isn't that Atlanta that's here in the United States? Because that's what I gather from my research, is that Atlanta Atlanta, Georgia, is Atlantis. That's
I
that's
I think that Atlantis was in the Atlantic Ocean, and the energy center of Atlantis is where it all began. I think that's where Thoth went, and that's why it's called Atlantis. But Atlantis was destroyed by water. If you read the preface of it, it kind of talks about what happened with Thoth, and he went down into the halls of Amenti, and he was taught by his master teacher. What was his master teacher's name? You know what? I'm gonna just go pull a look at it real quick. Let me see if I can find it.
It says something about the
Yeah,
dweller
the
in the halls
dweller.
of Amenti.
Yeah, yeah. The dweller, I guess, of the halls of Amenti or whatever,
Right.
bestowed this knowledge upon him. I guess when he died or whatever, because you would have to die to stay in the halls of Amenti. Y'all understand that? Like, we go there when we lose consciousness. So you would have to not have this physical vessel or either be in a coma forever. You understand what I'm saying? All the knowledge that he was saying. So that had to mean that he studied in the halls of Amenti with the dweller, meaning that he must have crossed over and gained the knowledge of how to beat the life and death cycle, and then kept on coming back for incantations. And that's what all of the people of Atlantis knew before Atlantis got destroyed. And from my understanding of Atlantis, and we could speak on this, anybody else who has knowledge of Atlantis, is Atlantis was the crystal city where you see the Atlantic Ocean is. That was an actual landmass there. And from my understanding, what happened was they was fucking with that God particle, y'all. And when they was messing with that, it caused a massive flood, and it caused their land to be destroyed. You understand? And not only that flood, but it caused a massive flood on a bunch of lands. And so those people who lived on that island, the ones that lived, which one of them was Thoth, the great magician, they sailed away from there and came over here, and we didn't all have that knowledge or whatever. Now, and then they bestowed their knowledge that they had of, you understand, on us. But what's deeper than that is I'm trying to figure out is we talking about Atlantis, the landmass there that's in the middle of the ocean? And I mean, somebody can, jump in here. Or are they like actually talking about another dimensional planet, and maybe then coming here like from an extraterrestrial form? Because the cosmos is also the waters. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's really deep. Like, when you look at this book and you really think of all of the different interpretations you can go, because when we astro travel, we travel through the waters. When, as above, so below, the space is also the waters. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just, trying to get there with my interpretations of it, because it's many different ways you can kind of break this down. And I think as far as Atlanta, you are right about that river, but I don't think that was the main Atlantis, because it said the main Atlantis, from my understanding now, and somebody can help me with this if I'm off, was destroyed by water, and that's why the tablets was made.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, that Atlantis existed in the physical and metaphysical. I think it's both. I think that the beings or the people from Atlantis probably were from another solar system or what have you, somewhere else. And due to their hard-headedness, they brought destruction upon themselves. And I think the actual physical island probably rested on one of those ley lines. And that's what contributed to their demise, besides their hard-headedness.
Yeah, like I said, they was doing shit they shouldn't have been doing.
And I know
So
Atlanta is on the 33rd parallel, supposedly. So
true,
I always thought that's
true.
when I think Rashad Jamal had a lesson about it, and I think so. I think it is, but I'm not sure.
I mean, what's really deep is Atlanta is on a crystal. Y'all understand it? It's on like a slab of crystal granite or something, like the whole city. So it could get deep here, family, because the map's so messed up. You don't know. You understand what I'm saying? But from my thinking, there was the Atlantis that got destroyed by water. I mean, from everything that I've read and uncovered, that Atlantis, the main Atlantis or the Crystal City, is underwater. And I think all of that's going to be revealed, you understand, when this land shift. I think that, and even on those maps, that they show you that the land mass that was Atlantis is going to be elevated again. So if that does happen and the Crystal City does come back into, visualization, I think that's also going to have something to do with when Thoth comes back, or Tahuti. Because them beings ain't really dead. They just choosing to be in another dimension until they get ready to incarnate into another physical vessel, which is basically what he's saying here too. Because he's saying he's coming back.
Rod Hayes says that he's Thoth incarnated.
What y'all think? I don't know. That's what I'm thinking, but this is for all of us to interpret.
Yeah.
As far as I understand, that's the Atlantic Ocean is where Atlantis once stood. Like you were saying, it was destroyed by ancient weapons, like you said. Some weapons that don't exist that were covered and can resurface until the elevation of one's wisdoms has elevated to a point where we can handle its technology. And the Pacific is like Lemuria, right? I think.
Right. That's what that's my understanding.
That's
Right.
what I understand.
Right. I agree. I think that those were actual people. They just had more advanced technology than the people that were here at that present time, and they misused it.
Correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
I wonder if the answers we're seeking are deeper in the rest of the reading.
Oh, it is. It is.
It is.
The first you read, the more it opens up to you. But we just diving into this first tablet right now, so
Yeah. So
I read it. I'm just gonna be chiming every now and again. I'm kind of driving and can't participate, but I'm listening.
no
Peace, y'all.
worries, Empress. Peace, Queen. So, are we done with this first page so we can move to the reading of the second page 7? Or does anybody else have anything as well that they want to contribute?
One more thing. I think the caves are metaphysical because I was in Jamaica last year and went exploring in the caves. I couldn't breathe. They had to bring me back up. Caves ain't no joke. I don't know whoever been in one, but they ain't no joke. So I think it is a metaphysical one. I don't think we came out of no caves, but yeah, caves are no joke. That's it.
No, they really ain't though.
They had to carry me back out. I said, what is this? I couldn't breathe at all. Pitch black, darkness. Can't. No. At least I ain't come out no cave.
I have a theory.
Go ahead.
So I'm thinking it could be a symbolism of the womb.
True.
and everything is within a womb, so maybe back to maybe that's birth, maybe that's the birth and rebirth.
I agree. Or it could be the original womb, which would be solar. That would be the darkness. You could be on to something there. It says the darkness of the caves from which you came. Well, a cave is a symbology for a womb. You are right. And we all descended from darkness. Understand that. The triple X black, the great mother. So she's the original womb. And when you say, you could just go back there from where we all came. That's deep, but you might be on it. I think you on to something there.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I mean, I really think you on to something with that. Because, like I said, before, the message that I'm getting is like, this time, if you ain't right, bro, you going back to Solar. Like, you ain't coming back. You ain't gonna reincarnate. So I don't know, but that's another way to look at this, because that's the way I was looking at it a little bit too, from like a metaphysical level, like, but now that you bring up that womb analogy, you are right.
Okay,
that's deep.
So we're really gonna have that to build on throughout the rest of it now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So anybody else before we go ahead to page 7? All right, let's go on to page 7 then. Okay. Does anybody want to read, or y'all want me to keep on reading?
I don't mind.
Yeah, I can read too.
Okay. Well, whoever want to go next, go on and take it.
You gonna leave it up there? Cause
yeah, I'm finna leave it up here. I'm gonna blow it up a little bit too.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Well, it's blurry for me. It's like keep going in and out. So
I can read because I got it on my iPad, so I'm looking at it.
I got it pulled up. I just but either way, it's fine with me.
Well, one can read 7 and one can read 8. I think we got a couple more to go. So
okay, go ahead, Zeke. I catch the next one.
Okay. So I think it says, even from beyond time and from beyond death, I will return, rewarding or punishing as you have requited your truest. Requited?
mm-hmm.
Great were my people in the ancient days, great beyond the conception of the little people now around me. Knowing the wisdom of old, seeking far within the heart of infinity, knowledge that belonged to earth's youth. Wise were we with the wisdom of the children of light who dwelt among us. Strong were we with the power drawn from the eternal fire. And of all these, greatest among the children of men was my father, Thoth keeper of the great temple, link between the children of the light who dwelt within the temple and the races of men who inhabited the 10 islands. Mouthpiece after the 3 of the dweller of Unal, speaking to the kings with a voice that must be obeyed. Grew I there from a child into manhood, being taught by my father the elder mysteries, until in time there grew within the fire of wisdom, until it burst into a consuming flame. Naught desired I but the attainment of wisdom, until on a great day the command came from the dweller of the temple that I be brought before him. Few there were among the children of men who had looked upon that mighty face and lived. For not as the sons of men are the children of light when they are not incarnate in a physical body. Chosen was I from the sons of men, taught by the dweller, so that his purposes might be fulfilled. Purposes yet unborn in the womb of time. Woo!
Ah, shade.
Oh man. Okay.
That's deep.
That hit different, don't it?
Yeah.
Boy, that is deep, y'all.
Oh.
Somebody could go, because something just hit me when you read that, for real. It's like the more times you read these tablets, the more stuff hits you. Like, you can't just read it just once. Like, every time you read it, something else hits you.
And that's what it says in the preface. It says that, don't read this once. Read it many, many times over.
Yeah, it did. I say it did say read it like 100 times, because that's deep. Go ahead, y'all. I'm fall back on what I see for now.
Okay, I got to go back.
And of all these, greatest among the children of men was my father, Thoth me.
Mm.
His father.
Keeper of the great.
That's the only reference I heard him make of some sense of, or some sort of parental guidance. Somebody before him. Keeper of the great temple. Okay, so his father. Who is that? Who is Thoth me?
And I see here it says he's the link between the children of light who dwelt within the temple and the races of men who inhabited the 10 islands. So he's a link.
So is he talking about the Most High?
You know, I don't think he's talking about the Most High here. Like, okay. So, I look at it like this, and I don't think he's actually talking about his physical father. Or he might be talking about a physical father. But whatever it is, it's the keeper of the great temple and the link between the children of light who dwelt in the temple and the races of men who inhabited the 10 islands. Right.
So
the temple can be more than one thing. Y'all know I be looking at stuff like weirdly. So when I hear of a temple, I don't just think of a physical temple, but I think metaphysical temples. I think of my body as a temple, and the 10, this is kind of, you could look at this a lot of different ways. I'm gonna let y'all go, and then I'll say the way I looked at it. But like, the keeper of the great temple is also us, right or wrong. And I think that, like, I think he's talking about on a metaphysical level here. Like,
but he says, greatest among the children of men was my father.
I'm looking for that reference.
Same paragraph.
as a rebirth type of.
Yeah, like okay, yeah, I see it.
That
And
yeah.
all of these, right? Greatest among the children of men was my father, Thoth, keeper of the great temple. So it could be a physical temple.
Girl, I don't care.
It could be a physical temple. I don't know. The way I look at it is and I'm gonna have to go a little, do a little back research on this paragraph right here as well myself. And somebody can jump in here with their interpretation if they have a little bit more understanding of what the children of light is. But I'm thinking the children of light are enlightened men, and the children that aren't of light aren't enlightened. They haven't, activated the greater wisdom. So is it a physical father, or is it the birth of subconsciousness here that he's talking about? Like,
Right. So the children of men is what caught my attention in that paragraph, because otherwise, when he's talking like on a metaphysical aspect, he doesn't refer to human beings or men. So what if it's both? What if
I think it might have dual meaning here, and
yeah,
I think you might be right. And where I'm getting this from is the other paragraph where he says, "Wise were we with wisdom of the children of light who dwelt among us. Strong were we with power drawn from the eternal fire." The eternal fire is the soul.
right. So my interpretation of that is this is before Thoth or Jehudi became who he is now. So I think this is interpreting. He was telling the story of what life was like before he came into this wisdom, this knowledge, before he was granted that gift, when he was just a regular being or whatever.
Right. And I think he's like here he says in a paragraph before that, he says, "Great were my people in the ancient days, great beyond the conception of little people around me.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, he's telling us that we descended in consciousness. You understand what I'm saying?
So it sounds like you're referencing the fall of man.
The fall of man. Like, it's almost like he talking then, but he really talking now. Like, it's almost like a parable, y'all. Like, I really feel like he talking to us now, like as if he was here. You understand? Because we are little. You understand? Like, we are little people around him now. In this wisdom, understand, it's the house of wisdom we talking about. So us talking about this, we are in his presence because it's a frequency too. Right. So if you really think about how little our minds are now as compared to what we were beyond conception in the ancient days that he's talking about, it might not be a reference to then. It could be a reference to now.
I can see that.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that, because when you guys were reading it, even though I'm babysitting my bad nephew, y'all, so y'all gotta forgive me, but when you were reading it, what I was getting is that he's talking about us.
Yeah.
Even with the previous page when he was talking about the knowledge, as we have talked about in the group, people who are in this spiritual community and they're supposed to be, leading and guiding. And because they get these downloads, they kind of let it go to their heads and they're not doing what they're supposed to do with that knowledge. And I think it kind of, leads into this page where it's talking about, we're all asleep. We were all under a spell. And essentially, we are waking up, and he's talking about us being reincarnated, and even himself.
Right. Like,
and even his father. Like, we all have been going through this. And I think that's kind of, stop it. I think that's kind of what he was talking about. Or at least that's what I got.
yeah, and where this is deep as, and what we have to remember is he didn't write this book for them back then. He wrote this for us now.
Dang, that's right.
Yeah. That's
You
true.
know,
Like
so
Nefertiti said, these books are in parables, so it has multiple meanings.
yeah.
Right.
But he said, wise we were with the wisdom of the children of light who dwelt among us. So when he's talking about the children of light, I honestly think that's back when we was orbs, y'all, when we was orbing through this bitch.
Yeah.
And how far we descended from the physical, from the orb, from the pure energy into this flesh vehicle state. So this deep, you know what I'm saying? Like, it hit me a bunch of different ways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You know
that's
what's
my
crazy
thing.
is that there's a few chapters in when we get into it that speaks about the orbs, actually, which is pretty on point, FT.
And I'm
I
thinking
like
about
that.
the light within us. If we think about ourselves as the children of light, reincarnating, and his father being the link between the children of light and the races of men who inhabited the 10 islands, I'm kind of thinking of that metaphysically as, the ones who are the keeper, like the keeper of the great temple, with
Mm-hmm.
the temple here. And it's like he's the link between the children who are in that temple and who dwelt within the temple, the children of light who dwelt within the temple, the great temple that he keeps, and the races of men who inhabited the 10 islands. I'm thinking the 10 islands as the flesh, the that's the land. It's like he's the connection between. It's a couple of different ways that can go.
It's real deep.
And especially that last paragraph, chosen was I from the sons of men, taught by the dweller, so that his purposes might be fulfilled, purposes yet unborn in the womb of time. And I just think that is so much speaking about us, especially, people referring, quote unquote, I'm throwing up air quotes, chosen ones. And, it's plenty of melanated beings out here, but everybody is not going to wake up.
Thanks.
And the ones of us that do, it's kind of like we were chosen from all of the sons of men, right? Which it don't say women, but we included in that. And it's like, essentially we're here, we have a purpose. And, essentially it's saying that that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to fulfill that purpose. And I think everybody on this call know what our purpose is.
Agree, Ashe. And I think also that the men who inhabit, like the children of light in the temple, could be your physical temple as well. Like, we are the children of light. We light energy. You understand? And if we talking about beating the cycles of life and death, y'all, and eternal in our soul, what he could be talking about is like the keeper of the great temple. You understand? It could actually be him talking about us because we a great temple. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we are a temple as well. And, I don't know, this kind of deep right here. I'm going to have to read that again because...
Let me point something out to y'all. most of us probably came up in the Christian tradition at some point before we were awakened, right? And you know how people used to say that you can't look on the face, you can't look at the face of God because you wouldn't live, right? I've heard Christian people say that.
Right.
So in that paragraph before, where she was talking about the chosen, so if you see, it says, "Few there were among the children of men who had looked upon that mighty face and lived. For not as the sons of men are the children of light when they are not incarnate in a physical body."
So understand, I think what he's saying is when you get to that level, it's life after death, y'all. It's when your light. Oh, you understand what I'm saying? So, are we talking about living in the flesh? Few people have went that far. You understand? Then been back in the flesh. Like if you gonna be there, you won't be incarnate into the physical body no more. Like it's a higher dimension. You understand what I'm saying? So we talking about the different dimensional levels. You understand what I'm saying? Once you get to, once you ascend to a certain dimension, you wouldn't never come back to this vehicle again. So few men have mastered the cycles enough to know how to get all the way up there and still be able to incarnate back down here, to slow your energy back down enough to come back into this dimension, into a physical vessel. Once you probably discover that dimension, you usually probably stay there. You probably ain't trying to come back down this bit. I'm just keeping it real. I know if I get up there, I'm probably gonna be like, y'all, you understand what I'm saying? For real. I mean, I'm just like, I'm being funny, but I'm being real here. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we live for eons and eons, and basically what he's like is the sons of men, and we have to get out of thinking of a son as just a masculine. We all are sons. You understand what I'm saying? We all sons linked to the big son. You know what I'm saying? So I just think when he say the sons of men, he's talking about us in the flesh.
Right.
And
because it says at the bottom, for not as the sons of men are the children of light when they are not incarnated in the physical body. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So you see what I'm saying? And when you become the straight light, the children of the light, you in your soul form, then you orbit, or you in them higher dimensions. You see what I'm saying?
Ooh, can I add in something? Hey, y'all.
What's up, man?
Hey. So, I feel like all of this is kind of like it's already happened, because if we're seeing those orbs, then that's pieces of our soul that we're seeing, you know. And I've had situations where I've seen all this play out before, and I've seen, you know, from start to finish, just the timeline of Earth. And so I feel like we already passed this test, and we're already like, you know, if we do come back down here, this is still only a projection. So we are that eternal light forever.
Agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then he's like, chosen was I from the sons of men. So basically, he talking about chosen was I in the flesh. You understand? And taught by the dwellers so that his purposes might be fulfilled. So basically, he's saying he was able to travel to a place, even in his flesh body, to be able to see that dimension, to gain that wisdom, I guess, and still be able to incarnate or keep his flesh vehicle to be able to tell us. You understand what I'm saying? Or teach us. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right about that because it reveals that later on down in the other tablets um, when he accepted his gift or his reward.
Mm. You know, I think this is deep too that he says up here, mouthpiece after the three of the dweller of Unat, speaking to the kings with voice that must be obeyed. Like he's talking about the Trinity right there, y'all. And when I'm talking about the Trinity, that's also a part of us. You know, that's angles of light. Like this could be looked at a whole bunch of different ways, man. And
That's one thing. Excuse me for cutting you off. But that's one thing I had a question about the angles. I'm still trying to wrap my head around when you talk about the angles, the circles, the cycles, those types of things. It sounds like you have a better understanding of that.
well, if you remember when I was talking to you, I told you that we got pyramids, right? We are a pyramid. We got pyramids in our body, a pyramid in our brain, angles that we can form to form our Merkaba, you know, which is our spirit vehicle that we travel through. So I think when he's talking about like he's talking about your mouthpiece after the three. And then he's talking again about this Unai place that I told y'all. I think I said earlier I was going to look into that a little bit more. I don't know right here. I mean, he could be talking about the enlightenment. You know, when we become enlightened, and we hear that voice that we got to obey. You know what I'm saying? Like when you get to that level, that metaphysical level, and you really get one with source. You know what I'm saying? That's the
Yes, yeah.
voice that you must obey. Like you can't not obey it, yo. You could be fighting it, yo. I just know from my own experience. But some just, it's like you be compelled. You understand? And we know when he's saying the kings, he's talking about the kingu. Remember, I told y'all that. And I did a lecture on that in our spiritual discussion, and I was talking about the kingu in the bloodline, you know, the blood, you know, the kingu. So that's still us he's talking about. You understand? And the kingu or whatever, which where the word king came from, was really the royal bloods, the people who had the blood and the light codes to this whole earth and the real metaphysical abilities to be able to do everything that he's talking about right here. So mouthpiece after the three, after you develop your levels of higher consciousness, that's just exercising your throat chakra, because the voice of the dweller now, which is the all, is compelling you to speak this divine wisdom. He telling us basically we going through the same type of enlightenment that he went through in order to obtain his knowledge to get where he at. Can you kind of understand where I'm going with this family?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's deep right there. Like that done hit me a couple different ways. Like,
Right.
excuse me, I'm trying to kill a spider coming through my chimney. I usually don't kill him, but today he gotta go. So I don't know, but mouthpiece after the three, after the higher pineal function come in, y'all. That's when you start hearing the voice of the dweller, or the voice of your soul, the voice of your higher self, the voice of the all. Speaking to the kings, you gotta have the bloodline, you gotta have the neuromelanin in order to even get to that level. And you gonna obey. You gonna go out here and you gonna speak the wisdom. You gonna speak the truth. That's where I'm at with it, y'all. I don't know. Maybe as it get deeper into the books, it'll come more to me. But that's like what hit me as I first saw that. Like, that's one of the main ones that stuck out to me. That one, and when he talked about the children of light when they are not incarnate in the physical body, that part right there, the dweller of the temple. Our soul is the dweller of a temple too. You understand? It's the dweller of our temple. And our temples, you understand, the temples of your mind. They even call it the temples right here. You know, your two temples. That's an angle. You see what I'm saying? Like one temple, two temples, and then your pineal. That forms a angle, a trinity right there, y'all. It's a triangle.
I feel that.
I say.
I don't know.
The dweller of the temple and the keeper of the great temple, and we're the children of light who dwelt in the temple.
The temples of our mind, y'all. Who is the keeper of the eternal flame? You the keeper of your soul. You the keeper of this temple. And that's the only way we're going to really get to the higher dimensions is through the temple, through the pineal. You understand? To do what we did before. You understand? And reconnect from the sons of man in the flesh to the child of light, which is our higher self. And it was deep. What I think Pash said is like, we already there. We already, the orb. And you know what I'm saying? On a higher dimensional frequency, we probably are. And we just trying to get through the connection, you know what I'm saying, to be rebirthed or reconnected with higher self.
I say.
And speaking of that, did you say something about unborn, or did I read it? That's what I'm looking at.
No, it's in here, I think.
Okay, the very last two sentences. The word purposes is really sticking out to me. It says so that his purposes might be fulfilled. Purposes yet unborn in the womb of time. So is it saying that the purposes are unborn in the womb of time? So the purposes are in time, but they haven't been born yet. So how does a purpose? In my mind, a purpose is kind of like eternal. You know what I mean, if you will. Or well, not really. Now that I think about it, on the flip side of that, something will have its purpose and then its job is done. So I'm just kind of like, what are these purposes yet unborn in the womb of time? Is that us? Are we the purposes?
I think the purposes was the tribulations that we had to go through, because he wrote these books eons ago for purposes that had not yet been fulfilled, but that he was able to see.
Ooh, okay.
So where you got to sit and understand, it's like he talking to us, but from a different time, but still at this time. Like, this is really weird for me, y'all. Like, I'm really having a experience here, but the purposes hadn't yet been fulfilled when he wrote this book, but the purposes was, you understand, in the womb time, in the cycles. It hadn't been birthed yet, all of this shit we went through.
Right.
We haven't failed yet or none of that, but he writing that book for us now. You understand what I'm saying?
So the purpose of it, if there was no purpose, quote unquote, then, because none of this happened, like you said. So now the purposes have been born into time.
Exactly.
See,
that's why I'm getting from it.
See, you have to understand that they knew that our ancestors knew that we were going to fall. before we even fell.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yeah.
is basically what it's saying.
Ashe.
Wow.
That's deep.
You know, I'm
This
kind of
love
getting
talking.
from some of this, I'm getting some sort of information as far as the reiterations of reincarnations through our own wisdoms, kind of like we speak about our memories being wiped every
Mm-hmm.
incarnation. So it says, grew I there from a child into manhood, being taught by my father the elder mysteries, until in time there grew within the fire of wisdom, until it burst into a consuming flame, which we're at now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
Mm-hmm.
we finally awoke
Ashe.
to
I
truth.
say, because we was out here like children. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
A child, yeah. And now we back to the children's state, but we learning ourselves again. You know what I'm saying? We raising ourselves back up to be the gods of men.
Yes.
Ashe.
It's like you didn't know who you were, but now you're beginning to know who you are.
Yes.
And you know what else? When he say, I got a little reverb too. When he like, when you say that paragraph and then that last two lines, he like, until in time there grew within the fire of wisdom until it burst into a consuming flame. Hold on, he says, being taught by my father the elder mysteries until in time there grew within the fire of wisdom until it burst into a consuming flame. You know, like when you're going through the awakening, ain't your soul like hungry for like
Yes.
wisdom?
Yes.
Starving. Like,
Ooh,
starving.
yeah.
Exactly.
Ashe.
Ashe.
That's deep right there. You know, it's almost like he's telling us, like, it's almost like what I'm picking up from this a little bit is like, because you know, we just reincarnations of ourselves, but at once we were the keepers of the knowledge, and it's almost like he's saying we learning from ourselves, like me versus like a mirror or something. You know what I'm saying? Almost like me in another dimension or me in another time giving me back the knowledge that I had as I'm connecting with my higher self, which was always manifest here. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's deep, man.
Yeah, that's deep.
Very much so.
That's real deep.
And that feeling in the next paragraph, not desired I, but the attainment of wisdom. That's what we're fighting with.
Yeah.
I don't want much but wisdom. Like, I don't. That's what he's basically saying. I desire nothing but the attainment of wisdom.
Right. Yeah. After you wake up, right? Like, you just want to know. You just want to figure it out. Like,
you know, like when you're in a video game, you do anything just to get to the knowledge, to figure out how to pass it.
Yeah, like you trying to pass the level.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we all fight for in this group, is just the attainment of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's got me really, it caught my eye when I was first reading it, and I keep going back over, and it's like, it's almost like a cliffhanger, but the answer is there at the same time, because he's saying, you know, I desire nothing but the attainment of wisdom, but in the very next line he said, until on a great day, the command came from the dweller of the temple that I be brought before him.
Yes.
What if, and the dweller of temple could be higher self, your soul. Like, it's almost like you reconnecting with yourself in a higher dimension. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because we there and here too. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that shit deep.
Mm.
Mm.
So, are we ready to move to the next page, or are we still debating?
Shit, I don't even know.
I'm gonna change my vote. I want us to read this together.
Look, yeah, let's go on to the next one because we could say stuff there for a second because some truths just hit me hard like a.
And they was coming.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the good thing about it is we don't have to be in no rush to get through this book. I mean, we can take our time with it. If it take multiple weekends, you know what I mean? Because we want to make sure everybody getting the info.
Yeah.
Correct.
I ain't
Okay.
in no rush. Y'all in a rush?
I'm not.
It's deep. I'll tell you that much. That was deep, yo. That all jokes to the side. That's this page right here, a deep page. Like some stuff that really just hit me. Like I almost feel like, and this might sound crazy to somebody for real, but it's almost like my higher self is speaking to me through this book. Like,
Yes, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, you better say it.
I thought it was just me, but for
No,
real,
it ain't
y'all,
just
like,
you.
Say it.
You're right. You ain't by yourself.
okay, because I thought I was crazy because I'm like, yo, something is like, you know,
Right? Like,
So, but see, you have to understand, you're learning you again, and you don't even know you.
I say,
That is basically
say.
basically what we're going through. Each time we have a revelation of ourselves, you wonder where it comes from. It's because we've reincarnated so many times that we have forgotten who we were. So we're learning our higher consciousness of ourselves over and over and over again. It's a cycle. It's a cycle that we're going through.
Yeah, this really is the revelation, y'all.
This
Mm,
thing is deep, y'all.
So for
it
those
really is.
who have their book open, follow along page 8.
Mm-hmm.
Long ages I dwelt in the temple, learning ever and yet ever more wisdom, until I too approached the light emitted from the great fire. He taught me the path to Amenti, the underworld where the great king sits upon his throne of might. Deep I bowed in homage before the lords of life and the lords of death, receiving as my gift the key of life. I was free of the halls of Amenti, bound not by death to the circle of life. Far to the stars I journeyed until space and time became as naught. Then, having drunk deep of the cup of wisdom, I looked into the hearts of men and therefore found I greater mysteries and was glad. For only in the search for truth could my soul be stilled and the flame within be quenched.
oh, that sounds like my life. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Down through the ages I live, seeing those around me taste of the cup of death and return again in the light of life. Gradually, from the kingdoms of Atlantis, passed waves of consciousness that had been one with me, only to be replaced by spawn of a lower star. In obedience to the law, the word of the master grew into flower. Downward into the darkness turned the thoughts of the Atlanteans, until at last, in this wrath arose from his Aguanti, the dweller. This word has no English equivalent. It means a state of detachment. Speaking the word, calling the power. Deep in earth's heart, the sons of Amenti heard and hearing, directing the change of the flower of fire that burns eternally, changing and shifting, using the logos until that great fire changed its direction.
Oh my God.
I'm going to stop right there because the second paragraph starts up on that. So let's unpack that.
Oh my God.
Whew. That thing deep, boy.
Yeah. I'm getting
That thing deep, y'all.
Lords of life, lords of death. Third paragraph. So he bowed in homage before the lords of life and the lords of death.
Remember, we went through the lords in our other discussion when we was talking about chapter 11.
Right. So that's when you were referring to the cycles of life, the cosmos.
Cycles. Right. The cycles. And remember, I called this group, before I even had a full understanding of it, for some reason I called this group the Moksha discussions, because that just had came to me in a vision. And in studying it, it talks about breaking the cycles of rebirth, breaking the cycles of life, death, rebirth. You understand? And that's the key to life. And basically, that's how you get the key of life. You understand? You have to beat this cycle right here that we in. You understand? You have to beat the cycle of being you understand? You have to be able to die but not have to be born again into this, because we trapped, our energy trapped to keep on cycling to a dead cycle. You understand? When we want to cycle into higher levels of ascension. And so free I was from the halls of Amenti, not bound to death by the circle of life. You know what I'm saying? After that, we could go wherever we want to go. We can escape this Van Allen, what was the Van Allen belt, and we could go back and travel the cosmos again. And he basically saying he found that where I'm getting this from is having obtained the wisdom back. Like, it's almost like we obtaining our wisdom back. And then he's like, he was able to look into the hearts of men. So maybe he's seeing us now. Because right now we men, you understand, we're the sons of men. We not the children of light right now. We trying to get back to our children of light. And he was glad because he basically saying, in the end, I see y'all going to drink of the cup of life, drink of the cup of wisdom, and we going to get back where we need to be. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I agree. I think that's where we are now in this time and space. People are waking up and researching and doing their due diligence to dive deep into these hidden secrets that we once forgot.
Right.
And so now people are waking up. Things are being revealed that were once forgotten. And I'm so glad we having this discussion, because I wanted to make sure I wasn't by myself.
Because all we know now is that we come from man. We know that we come from man, but we don't know that we come from a higher consciousness. So we're learning this cycle of learning back our higher consciousness is waking within us. See, did that make sense?
Right. Yeah, because we in the flesh. Somebody reverbing. Agree though, because we in the flesh right now, so we the sons of men. Remember, we sons. You understand?
Right.
So right now in this incarnation, I'm a son of men. You understand? I'm birthed into this flesh,
Right.
but that's not what we always were.
Exactly.
And basically, this paragraph is deep because he say, gradually from the kingdoms of Atlantis past waves of consciousness that have been one with me, only to be replaced by spawn of a lower star. Understand? He's talking about the underground race right there.
I say. And you guys see where it says, for only in the search for truth could my soul be stilled and the flame within be quenched. I know for me, prior to really going on my spiritual journey, I felt like my soul was being tortured. Like I felt like all of the decisions I made, somebody is
It's reverbing hard.
yeah, somebody had a
speaking with your mind, muting your mics.
Yeah, if you're not talking.
Yeah, so because, I went through a lot of personal trials and tribulations, abuse, like all kinds of crazy things. And I would always sit and just, wonder why. Like, why am I going through this? And it felt like my soul was being tortured. I think that's karma. It used to feel like my soul was being tortured. And it says, for only in the search for truth could my soul be stilled and the flame within be quenched. And once I went through everything that I had been going through and really embraced who I was and what my purpose was here, it was only until then that, once I stood, in who I was, I didn't feel that way anymore. I didn't feel like I was being tortured. I started looking at things as if they were on a conveyor belt. They were happening, but it wasn't happening to me. I wasn't personalizing things. I wasn't taking everything, I wasn't internalizing things. It was happening, but it was out there. It had nothing to do with me. Whereas that's
somebody,
my
baby is talking, boy. She trying to tell us what it is, okay?
I'm babysitting my niece son, y'all. But yeah,
he's trying to tell us something, y'all. Y'all hear him trying to tell us.
In the laptop, y'all. I'm sorry. Hush.
He's speaking in another frequency, trying to help us to understand what we're reading.
I'm gonna mute y'all because he ain't gonna stop.
He trying to participate.
Right. Let that man speak.
He trying to tell us what's up, y'all. I'm trying to tell you, you have your higher consciousness as a child. As a baby, you come here perfect.
I see.
Yeah. Who else felt something or want to go? This is a deep page right here. It's got a lot in it. A lot to unpack, family.
So in that same paragraph, he says, To the stars I journeyed until space and time didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
That's really deep. That's on the metaphysical level there. So space and time. I mean, he like took off.
Like, what's deep about this is if you done walked the halls of a mentee, just think, he studied there and he was able to escape those. So I think the halls of a mentee is where we walk before we reach the level of consciousness in our macabre, the astro travel, the whole cosmos again, the whole, like all the dimensions. You understand what I'm saying? And
Yes.
some of us walk the halls of a mentee, because I know I do. You understand? I done seen that before. So basically what he's saying is, I went through the hall and he able to escape through them doors, or where he able to, you understand, not just be in the hall seeing the doors like we is, but actually walk through them. You understand? Or go through it and go to these different wormholes in time where space and time don't exist. You know what I'm saying?
Because he received the key of life when he
Exactly. Exactly. So he basically saying he able to jump through time, jump through all his incarnations. Because if space time don't exist, then all of this is basically happening simultaneously at the same time. And he's able to control his consciousness enough, or subconscious, this past the conscious to the subconscious, where he's able to go through all of that. You understand? And then beyond.
And that's how he was able to look into the hearts of men, because he's not looking from a physical standpoint. He's looking from, another dimension. He can see time and space don't mean nothing, so he can look
Right. So he was here.
He can
Shit, he could be one of us sitting on this damn phone right now.
But
Above the timeline, yes.
But you will have to
I say.
understand that we were
He could have jumped and
multi-dimensional
seen himself.
Exactly. Because we were multi-dimensional beings at one point.
Exactly. And he could be telling you at the time when he reincarnated, all this finna touch out. Could be one of y'all sitting right here.
That's sure.
Because we done all fell.
I see.
And then he like, in the obedience to the law, the word of the master grew into a flower. When they hit that flower thing, I always think about the flower of life, y'all. You know that pattern, the flower of life pattern, the Fibonacci pattern that's on everything, the pattern of God.
Yeah.
Yes. The sequence of all creation on this dimensional level.
Exactly.
Sorry, I have a...
No, you're fine. And then it's like, go ahead.
Sorry, I lost your screen keeps going in and out. I jumped to my book.
Can you all see my screen? Do I need to go out and come back in?
Yeah. I can see it. I don't know.
Okay. Just making sure. You know what else is deep about this is what he's talking about in this last paragraph. This almost sounds like he's talking about Tiamat shifting right here.
Yes, right now, how she is.
What's happening right now?
Correct.
Don't it?
Correct.
He's like deep in the earth's heart. He talking about the sun in the earth. You know, he talking about Tiamat. He like the sons of Amenti heard and hearing. So the sons of Amenti, think about this, y'all. That's people that's in another dimension. The halls of Amenti aren't in this dimension. So the sons of Amenti, so that's them orbs or our higher or our angles. You understand what I'm saying? Directing the changing of the flower of fire that burns eternal. So maybe that's our soul, you understand? Or maybe that's also the soul of Tiamat, changing and shifting.
That's your Kundalini energy that's within
Yeah.
you.
I say, River.
And
I wanted to read the definition of logos for y'all real quick. It says here, logos, the divine wisdom manifests in the creation, government, and redemption of the world, and often identified with the second person of the Trinity.
There go that Trinity again.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's deep.
I'd like to go ahead and read page 9. I think that's a good ending place if y'all want to just go ahead and end on that page before we go too far.
I don't know, cause I don't know. I still got some. I just has at least something I wanted to point out, if anything.
Go ahead. It's an open discussion.
So I just thought it was really interesting how it was almost like he had gained so much wisdom from learning from the dweller and traveling through the stars, you know, and time and space just becoming nothing. It's like he was looking for more and until he looked in the hearts of men and saw the mysteries and then he could relax. It's like, okay, goodness, I get you know, there's more mystery to it, and I actually resonate with that because, you know, when I feel like I have, you know, the answers, I'm like, but there's still this don't you know, like it always ends up there's something else and it feels better. It's like it feels great to you know, have all the knowledge in an arena, but it actually feels better to have more to learn because it's a freedom, it's an expansion versus getting, you know, stuck in that's it, that's the cap, that's all there is to it, you know. And then it's when it comes down, you know, it says gradually from the kingdoms of Atlantis past waves of consciousness that had been one with me, only to be replaced by a spawn of a lower star. And then it goes down to say, basically, I seen the where he said I saw their thoughts go down. Downward into the darkness turned the thoughts of Atlanteans. So it's almost duality there too, because in the obedience of the law, the word of master grew into flower. But then at the same time, downward into the darkness turned the thoughts of the Atlanteans. But it's like that downward into the darkness is what caught the attention of the sons of the Amenti to make the shift.
It's us.
It's
Higher
us.
self making it. See, remember, what we have to remember is when we woke up and start gaining that connection to higher self in that other dimension, your will be done on the physical plane. Whatever happens there manifests here. So while we were asleep, you understand what I'm saying? Nobody could control this to make this, you know, to shift the earth. You understand? But now that we awake and we starting to even get back to being the sons of the halls of Amenti, meaning our soul vessel or whatever, we able to even walk that far right now. Because some of us up in them halls walk them all the time. You understand what I'm saying? That's enough right there to start shifting to start this. You understand, to get this where we need to be. So I think him talking is like the only thing that quenched his soul once he saw this was all gonna go down was seeing that, you know, we was gonna rise again. We was going to come through this, and he probably was compelled to write these tablets, not just for us, but for himself, because we all done fell. We was all Atlanteans. You understand what I'm saying? So somebody, you know, had to do this. And it's like, when he say replaced by spawn of a lower star, that's just the lower angles, our lower self. We've done been replaced from our higher self to our lower self in this state right here. And in obedience to the law, the word of the master grew into a flower. Well, what is we? I self, law, and master, right? And in obedience to the law, cosmic order, the real law, not this shit here.
Hey, and then look, length, angle, and width.
Exactly. You see where I'm coming from? Y'all hit it now. Grew into a flower, the flower of life, y'all. The keys of life, how we gonna become immortal again. He talking about immortality right here. He was like, downward into the darkness, turn the thoughts of the Atlanteans. We was asleep. So I thought we thought downwards. We was in our animalistic state. And then it was like, until at last this wrath arose from his Agwanti. That's something that's got to do with us. The dweller. You understand? And it says it means a state of detachment, but it's deeper than even that. It's meaning, but detached from this consciousness, detached from this flesh. You understand? And then you're going to be speaking the word and calling your power, because you're going to manifest your will to be done. You kind of see where I'm going with this.
Exactly. And in order for your will to be done,
you breaking up.
And in order for your will to be done, you have to give up this flesh vehicle. You have to reprogram yourself. See, that's the problem.
You're breaking up.
We don't want to. We're having a hard time reprogramming ourselves to reach to the higher consciousness, to reach to the 360-degree knowledge. So we can. Am I breaking up?
Yo, you need to come out and come back in, because I think are you on your Bluetooth?
You need to come out and come back in, because I think are you on your Bluetooth?
Did she go out?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. Okay, let her come back. Cause was it just me, or was y'all getting all of that reverb too?
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
What she saying real deep though. She right on point.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
In order for us to get to back to our higher self, we have to reprogram ourselves to detach from this flesh vehicle that we in this environment that capture all the attention all the time, and it's hard for us to flip back and forth, because a lot of us don't know that we're multiple dimensional beings. We can flip back and forth from one consciousness to the other, but in order to do that, we must give up this flesh, because this is what's holding us back here. Do that make sense?
It makes
Yeah.
sense. I think what is being said here is, the subconscious, the 5D is the real world, right? And so once you detach from this consciousness and you go in subconscious, or you learn how to control that, you're going to speak your word to power. You understand? You're going to manifest your will to be done in this realm. You kind of understand where I'm going with that?
Yes.
All right, I say. Anything else when we move to this last part? Because we done went a little long, but we're going to read one more page.
Okay, I'm gonna let it be.
We could stay on these forever. I'm trying to tell you, it's a lot of truth in these pages, y'all. Okay, we're going to end it on...
I am ready for the next part, because I feel like it's talking about what's going on right now, and
Yeah.
drop some hits on big time.
Right. So I think we're going to end on page 9. And let's see, how many more we got? Okay, 10, 11. So we'll pick up with page 10 then for the next chat. So we almost got through tablet 1. Okay. So I'll read this. All right. Who was going to read? Was somebody? I think.
I was going to read if that's okay, but Nefertiti.
Okay, no, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to start from the Over the World, right underneath the last paragraph on page 8. Can y'all hear me clearly?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Over the world, then broke the great waters, drowning and sinking, changing the earth's balance until only the temple of light was left, standing on the great mountain on Undal, still rising out of the water. Some there were who were living, saved from the rush of the fountains. Called to me then the Master, saying, Gather ye together my people. Take them by the arts ye have learned of far across the waters, until ye reach the land of the hairy barbarians, dwelling in the caves of the desert. Follow there the plan that yet know of.
Can everybody go on mute real quick so it won't reverb through the chat? Go ahead, Louisa. I'm sorry.
No problem.
It's
Do I
still
need to
there.
reread, or
Is it you? It might be you.
let me go back in and out?
Sorry, y'all. Was y'all hearing the reverb too?
Yeah.
Y'all know Telegram be tripping on us, man. We be raising the frequency too much. It be all kind of stuff.
Mad.
Okay, is this better or not?
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Would you like me to continue, or would you like me to start again?
You was fine. I think where was you at Gathered?
Followed there the plan that yet know of. So yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Gathered I then my people, and entered the great ship of the Master. Upward we rose into the morning. Dark beneath us lay the temple. Suddenly over it rose the waters, vanished from earth, until the time appointed was the great temple. Fast we fled toward the sun of the morning, until beneath us lay the land of the children of Kim. Raging, they came with cudgels and spears, lifted in anger, seeking to slay and utterly destroy the sons of Atlantis. Then raised I my staff, and directed a ray of vibration, striking them still in their tracks as fragments of stone of the mountain. Then spoke I on them in words calm and peaceful, telling them of the might of Atlantis, saying we were children of the sun and its messengers. Cowed I them by my display of magic science, until at my feet they groveled when I released them. Long dwelt we in the land of Kim, long and yet long again, until obeying the commands of the Master, who while sleeping yet lives eternally, I sent from me the sons of Atlantis, sent them in many directions, that from the womb of time wisdom might rise again in her children.
All right, family. What's y'all's thoughts on that? That's a deep passage too, right there, because I got like some dual meanings from that.
Yeah, I think I would say so too for myself.
It's really getting deep for me because it's almost feeling like I'm talking to myself. Like, it's almost like I'm looking at y'all, and maybe I'm telling y'all I'm just probably having a metaphysical experience because I read this book, I read these chapters, and I got one thing from it. But now that I'm sitting here with you all and I'm reading it and I'm looking back at it and I'm hearing it, it's almost like I feel like a part of me is almost looking at me sitting right here. And it's just a weird deja vu experience like hell I'm having right now. I don't know. It's probably just me, but it's almost like something like my higher self knows like I was going to be sitting here on this couch listening to this today. And it's like all of this stuff is like coming to me like this is definitely not the first time I done seen these books. I know that even though I've never read them, you understand what I'm saying? I know that this is not the first time I've seen the books or the knowledge, but it's almost like it's hitting me in more ways than just the words, like on a higher plane and like this plane. Like it's almost like my higher self is like, remember, and then I'm like in my lower self now, and I'm like, okay, I'm remembering. It might sound crazy to y'all, but like I'm having a real crazy experience right now.
No. It's just only thing is you looking at you and you don't know you looking at you.
Yeah, it's almost like I'm somewhere else.
Because you don't know that you were probably wrote this before. But
It's
now that you
almost like,
turn
yeah,
into your lower self, you don't know that
it's like,
you did this before.
And yeah, but it's even deeper than that. It's like, but I do know. It's almost like my higher self is my higher consciousness is like knew I was going to be in this lower state. It's almost like this book is speaking to me like you were here and now you there, but you always knew you was going to get back here, right here at this moment right now. Like it's deep, y'all. But do you kind of understand what I'm saying? Like,
oh, I get it. I understand.
But y'all go ahead. I'm going to let y'all speak on this and then I'll speak on what I saw. It's just deep. I'm having a real experience, guys. Like, no joke. Anybody?
So far, what I get is, you know, in a part of the films where there's that one leader that leads his people to the promised land, but they don't know the destiny that awaits them. But that one leader receives the message and knows where to take them, kind of like the Moses story. I feel like this particular page is part of that we've yet to see, but it's giving us clues as to what's to come.
Yeah.
That's what I get from it.
Hold on. I can't hear. Is that somebody speaking?
I'm not sure.
That's somebody has the phone off mute.
Okay. You know, who else got something?
Can I?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking about that. The paragraph, like I think it's the paragraph right in the center, where it says about the fast we fled, about the children of Kim, and I'm just really getting a really strong visual of like what's happening right now with the. It says it says we got on the great ship of the master. Upward we rose into the morning, and dark beneath us lay the temple. So it's like suddenly over suddenly over it rose the waters and vanished from earth. So I'm just getting a visual of like us being lifted upward, and then down right in the original paragraph I was speaking on, it says, you know, until beneath us we fled toward the sun of the morning, until beneath us lay the land of the children of Kim. Raging they came with cudgels and spears, lifted in anger, seeking to slay and utterly destroy the sons of Atlantis. So it's like that's what's happening right now. We're being lifted up, and they're being left behind, and they're with everything they might trying to slay us.
This is exactly what is happening. And what's deep about this, y'all, is the second paragraph on this page, where it's like, call to me then the master. Now just go to that I self law and master, because the master is higher self, saying, gather ye together my people, the people of Kim. Think about this. Take them by the arts ye have learned of far across the waters. Now I'm thinking about the cosmic waters. Until ye reach the land of the hairy barbarians. Who were the hairy barbarians? The underground race. Now check this out. Dwelling in the caves of the desert. You know, that's where they was at, y'all. You understand? Follow their plan that yet know of. And ain't that what we've been doing?
Yes. I say.
So basically, he already saying for a period of time, you got to follow their plan. But then it's going to be a day that's going to come. You understand? And the great, you know, entered the great ship of the master, the Merkaba, y'all. Until we rose into the morning, sunrise, Kepra. Oh, man, this shit deep. Y'all, excuse me, but for real.
I mean, but really, though.
I say, and don't
Man.
And don't over the part about y'all where they're talking about over the world, then broke the great waters, drowning and sinking. Now y'all know we always looking at stuff like that.
Yeah,
where
changing the earth.
all of the
Yes.
floods and all of those different things that you know that's happening right now that we talk about on some of our calls.
Exactly. Long dwelt we in the land of Kim, long
How?
and yet long again. We
How?
on our own land. This is the land of Kim, y'all.
Mm,
Man,
mm.
And we
until
talked about that on another call, Nefertiti, where you were saying that you felt like maybe we didn't have to. You were feeling like you didn't have to plan so much because we kind of spoke about us possibly being removed from the land before the land was actually completely cleansed, like taking the children away until they finish purifying the land and then possibly returning us. So gathered I then my people and entered the great ship of the master.
But I
what
don't,
that is
yeah,
saying is you're going into your higher consciousness to
yeah,
where
you're going,
nothing around, nothing that's going to affect us because we're in a higher dimension.
right. I don't think that it's talking about us leaving this physical vessel. And I didn't mean that we not gathering. Just something told me not to gather it because it's not gonna matter. Now, I don't think I'm gonna be teleported off from here, like no ship to come back and scoop me up in the sky and all of that type of stuff. But I don't know. Something was just telling me, you understand that I don't need to do all of that preparation like I was doing because I'm not going to need it. And I think once we ascend or once we begin to defy gravity and all of that stuff, we not going to need all of this stuff, y'all. We not going to need all of this stuff. If we could build pyramids with our mind and build all of this with our mind, we gonna just probably collapse this and reconstruct a whole new plane. Like we might go to sleep and go into higher consciousness and wake up and be in a whole other, the whole earth be changed.
Exactly. That's what, yeah, and it's strange you say that because my grandmother was telling me that today. The exact same thing that you just said. My grandmother was telling me this today. It's like deja vu.
About this today. My goodness.
Yeah. And this is deep. It's like, then I raised my staff and directed a ray of vibration, striking them still in their tracks as fragments of stone of mountain.
I wanted to speak on that too. I had thought of, I don't know if somebody had shared it in the group or not, but it was for some reason something keeps telling me like, nah, that's not it, but at the same time it's just something connecting for me there. It's really like sparking something. But it was a video that I had seen and I think somebody posted in the group, and it was like they were showing these people that looked like they were laying on the ground, but they were stone, like they were turned to stone. And that's
Yeah.
really like giving me that image. Like it's like he's speaking metaphysically and metaphorical, but why did we see that? Why did we see that? And then he's saying this. Well, there's a reason for that.
And it could be also fragments of the soul that's frozen in time that we got to reintegrate. When we put ourselves to sleep, we blew our DEA into fragments, y'all.
So it's like the
reintegration of all of ourselves.
yeah,
Once we
it's like
get
when
to,
he put that stab out.
yeah,
It was
Yeah.
like be still.
Right. You see
No
what I'm
more
saying,
fear.
y'all? Like, understand we multi-dimensional. So right now we reintegrating with all of ourselves from then and from now and from beyond. So I'm not just sitting here looking at myself sitting here. This is what I'm trying to tell y'all. I'm looking at myself beyond here, and I'm looking at myself from when I was above here and beyond. You understand what I'm saying right now, y'all?
I get it.
It's almost like all of your eons of incantations are coming right back in the form right now. So you all of yourselves, like we were fragments. You understand? Soul fragments, fragments of self reincarnating through here. And now this is the reintegration, because once you can astro travel and time travel and stuff, I could see myself back then eons ago. I could see myself. It's almost like I feel like deja vu now. You understand? Like
So
I done already
saying
seen myself sitting here doing this, and it was a big pivotal moment of reintegrating all of those things.
So are you saying every time we reincarnated, it's only a fragment of ourselves?
Exactly. Because we wiped the memory, so we forget that memory. But now it's all coming back, our whole record of memory, our whole library. So all of the incantations of us and what we learned, the wisdom is all reintegrating back. You understand? From then, from now, and to beyond. Because once we get all of the knowledge, we'll be even to see ourselves beyond, because there is no time. Space-time don't exist. Remember when you walk through the halls? That's it.
It's not.
That's your whole self.
That's your whole self.
You complete then.
Yeah.
So that's what a deja vu kind of is then. It's like remembering or remembering.
Yeah. It's weird as hell, y'all.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I like to build on top of that what Nefertiti is talking about. So, I don't know if you guys have read Professor Kaba's book, Spirituality Before Religions, but I finished that book last year, and Professor Kaba talks about the 7 parts of the soul. Soul has 7 parts, and so he breaks each one down into different aspects. And he says that from the time you're born up until about the age of 7, your soul is constantly being integrated into your vessel during that cycle, during that time frame, through your crown chakra. And so just recently, a couple of weeks ago, I seen a video of some children. I think somebody posted it in the breaking news chat. Some children were recounting their experience. They actually remember coming into that particular vessel. They remember choosing their parents. And so that struck me weird, because it took me back to that part in Professor Kaba's book when he talks about your soul coming into your vessel is in cycles, right? Up until the age of 7. And so one of the children in that video remembers him coming into, he remember picking his mama and his daddy. He said, "I followed you in the snow." This was long before he was born. And she was like, "I used to live in Pennsylvania where it snows a lot." And so the child was saying, "I followed you in the snow. I picked you as my parent. I picked my dad. I picked y'all as my parents." And so that struck me kind of weird, and it kind of confirmed what I had read in his book about the soul and how it enters into a vessel and the seven aspects of each person's soul. And so I come to the conclusion that if that be the case, I don't know how many of y'all follow Isis Wisdom, but she spoke once about soul walk-ins. And I can recall definitively now when I came into this vessel. I remember looking up at my mom. She had a flower printed house coat on. I couldn't have been no more than probably a few months, maybe 1 year old at the time. Before that, I have no recollection, but I do remember that point. And so I told my mom about it. She said, "How could you remember that you were a baby?" And I think that's when I stepped into this vessel. And so for me, that kind of confirms, kind of what you were saying, Nefertiti, previously. The path the soul takes. I found that to be profound.
It's very profound, because I remember coming down the canal of my mother's vagina. I actually remember being born here. And now I'm getting bits and pieces of how I chose my parents. I don't have a whole full programming of how I chose them, but I do remember being born.
It's quite the gift. 'Cause I don't remember most of my childhood, let alone birth and beyond. It's quite
That's
the
a
gift.
big difference, though, from a soul walk-in. Like, where you
Yeah,
know, that's a big difference.
it's two different things. Yes, it's two different things. Yeah.
Like,
A
why?
soul being rebirth and a walk-in is two different things.
Yeah. So
A
why do you
walk-in
think
is the
we get to
possession of a
choose?
vehicle, right? In order to possess the vehicle, the soul that possessed that vehicle is vacated or dead. You understand? So you done been walked in. The vessel's been walked in by something stronger than it. So either the soul is in prison or the soul is dead, meaning they've killed that energy and took it over. That's a soul walk-in. We
Is it
don't
always a
walk
bad
in.
thing?
Right.
Well,
Yeah, that's a bad thing.
I actually heard something recently that where like we actually do that for the purposes of being able to incarnate into a body that's already developed, instead of having to go through the whole process of childhood and all.
I think I heard that too. At one point, I heard that
Yeah,
too.
I don't know. I don't believe that to be true. I think
Mm-hmm.
that we come here as an energy, and then we manifest this body from the energy and not the reverse. Like, I think that when we come from the aura borealis as an energy. You understand what I'm saying? Straight from Ra, from the portal. When you get captured into this dimension and you fall, you come here as an energy. But then that energy is transmuted into the mother's egg, which is a rendition of the cosmic egg. Understand what I'm saying? And when we do that energy, we choose our mother, though. You understand what I'm saying? We choose her womb. We choose that egg. We choose that frequency. Do you understand what I'm saying? We
So
choose our
everyone
parents.
chooses.
Right, and you choose your vehicle. You manifest it. You understand, out of what you chose.
So my question would be, because for the life of me, I cannot understand why would I choose this vessel and the family that I was born in.
That's all in your natal
I
chart.
can't.
You need a natal reading.
Yeah,
You need a natal reading.
I'm studying mines now, and it's starting to unravel a little bit. But I guess I'm thinking with a man's mind, because if I had a choice, why did I choose this vessel? Why did I choose the family I came through? Why not another? You know,
This is not, this is deep, but this is a little bit off topic from the book. So I'm gonna just say this. Let's save that for the spiritual discussion, because it's getting off topic from the book, and it's gonna be another long drawn out, and we're trying to wrap up the discussion of the book. So let's table the reincarnation cycle and choosing your vessel and how light energy travels to your vessel and why we chose what we chose to the spiritual discussion on Sunday, which is tomorrow at 1. So
That's
we
gonna
can
be good.
get through the interpretation of the tablets. How about that, guys? Because it's a whole nother long discussion. You
I
understand? It's
agree.
not something that we're
This
going to
is
be able to
true.
cover in the
Right.
next
I
couple of
agree.
minutes.
I agree.
So, let's see. The last little part of this that struck out to me, because I know we get, we've been on here a little while, so we getting ready to have to come off of here. So I'm gonna go back to this last 2 paragraphs. What this part say? Then spoke I to them in the words peaceful. So remember where we left off. We was talking about the fragments, right? The fragments of ourselves as we reincarnated, the fragments of our Akashic records, right? So we're going to pick it up here. It was like, then I spoke to them in words calm and peaceful, telling them of the might of Atlantis, saying we are children of the sun and its messengers. Cowed I them by my display of magic science until at my feet they groveled when I released them. That's us talking to us. I really believe that. Like, it's almost like, because this is for us now, right? So basically, it's like Thoth is almost saying to us, as we were in fragments of ourselves, he's like, I'm giving you this message, like I'm a messenger through time to help you remember, you know what I'm saying, the might of Atlantis from where we came. You understand what I'm saying? And we are children of the sun. This is who you are. You understand what I'm saying? It's almost like he trying to give us back what we lost, pretty much is what I'm getting for that. And it's just like when he say, long dwelt we in the lands of Kim, long and yet long again. He basically telling us we done always been on this land. Like we done been reincarnating from higher, going, falling lower, lower. And it's like, until obeying the commands of the master, who while sleeping yet lives eternally. So he's like, our soul was sleeping, yet we live eternal. We got eternal life. So, and it's like, I sent the sons of Atlantis, sent them in many directions. From the womb of time, wisdom might rise again in her children. So, anytime it's talking about sons of something, sons of Atlantis, that would be us too, y'all, because this is Atlantis. Kinda. You understand what I'm saying? It drowned, but then it came over. It's all, man, this shit deep. That's all I can say. It's all us talking to us about what we were then, what we are now, and what we finna become again. Do that sound crazy? Like the Trinity, past, present, future.
I agree.
Yeah, you're right.
They say history repeats itself.
True indeed, until you can learn the cycle, and then you don't like some history does repeat, and I think we repeat history for lack of knowledge, and I think we've been in a cycle of repetition. So we've been repeating for lack of knowledge, and our souls will sleep. You know what I'm saying? Our master, which is higher self, was sleep. We had to put ourselves to sleep. But it lived eternally, meaning that we got eternal life right now, y'all. We done already escaped the life-death cycle. This is what I'm telling you right now. We already know the keys of life because we keep on reincarnating. Do y'all understand what I'm saying to you right now?
I say.
Yeah, I say, 'cause I mean, evidently we ain't learning what we supposed to be learning in these cycles.
Or we choosing to come back.
One of the
two.
Either we ain't learning our lesson, or we choosing to come back to fight the good fight.
Exactly. It's one of the two, but we done already beat the cycles of life and death. Our soul is eternal. It keeps on. We keep on manifesting back here, but thing was we was trapped in this realm. We couldn't get out of this realm. Our energy was trapped. You understand what I'm saying? And I think we already know the keys of life, but the true thing that makes us great or that gives us all of the power is when we can escape the halls of a mentee. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? When we go to that level of consciousness where we can shift through the dimensions again, go through the door. You remember people keep on saying, I opened up a portal, but I ain't walked in it yet. Somebody said that in one of our discussions. It's like, I'll open up the portal, I ain't walk in it. We done been, some of us, we walk in the halls of a mini, but we ain't went through none of the doors. Do you understand what I'm saying? Once we do that, that's gonna be fucking it, y'all. We're gonna activate ourselves.
Right. I concur with that message, because in my dream or my vision, I never did go into one of those chambers.
Right.
But I felt as if it was something of importance in each one.
Exactly.
But I chose not to explore at
right.
the time because I was trying to understand
where I was.
Mm-hmm. You think we'll get that second chance? Because I think there was something that happened to me too, and I was afraid to let it happen. And it felt so peaceful, but I was just afraid to let it happen.
I think we're all, like, I always go to the halls of a mentee, and like my daughter be opening doors and stuff and fighting archons. Like, I ain't got to that level, like the level that she be on with it, but and she actually astro travels, like, and has seen a whole bunch of, like, see a whole bunch of stuff just through that, through doing that. But I think when it's time for you to open up the doors of those dimensional portals, we will. You understand what I'm saying? I think it's all honestly dependent on us. And when and it's each individual soul, because it keep on coming back to that word master, and I keep on getting hit with the I self law and master. We master this temple, and we master our wisdom and where we're ready to go. You understand what I'm saying? So I think when you're ready to reach that level of subconsciousness, you will go. But it's in your time of growth. You understand what I'm saying? When you're ready to do it, it's no such thing as time or space. You understand? It's just you reintegrating into you. And I think we've been eternal. We already got the eternal life. You understand? The soul lives eternally, but we will sleep. You understand? And I think what this is really about is beating the cycle of life and death here so that we can travel again through all the other dimensions and then still come back here too. Do you understand what I'm saying? While we in this one vehicle, like the power to be able to be what they call it, divergent, neural, like you neural divergent in a motherfucker or something. Like you able to sit here and shift your mind and shift this whole dimension. You sit in here and you could collapse this room into the damn desert, and you sit in here and then you could turn this room into an ocean. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, that's the level that I'm talking about, where you done beat everything because you got so much control over this that you could go to higher self. You could change dimensions and stuff. You could change your whole environment just with a thought. Because once you go to the higher dimensions, understand, whatever we do up there manifests here. You understand? So once you get that, able how to walk through them halls, how to go back and forth between being a child of light and lower self while you still in this vehicle, that's when you're going to become a god and be able to defy gravity and everything, because that's everything. You're going to have access to it all.
And another thing, what is keeping us from opening up the doors and walking through is because we have more work to do within ourselves. Because there's something inside of us that's stopping us from opening up the door, because we're not done the work that we need to do inside and internally to open up the door outwards.
You know what? I think that's part of it, but I also think that our electrons ain't firing fast enough to open the door. Our neural melanin, we ain't harnessed enough energy yet, you know, the radiation to be able to do it. Just like a battery got to charge up, then it can speed faster. You got to think about it. Your neurons in your brain when you in REM sleep is some of the fastest waves, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about, like theta wave. You understand what I'm saying? So that's a frequency, right? So it's got to fire beyond REM. So your neurons and stuff got to be able to have the right energy yet. And I just don't think the energy of the earth is there yet.
It's not,
that's
because
what's slowly, gradually shifting.
We're on like cold lockdown. It's why our energy can't
when these
generate.
grids go, exactly. When we start getting those X flares, y'all, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I agree. But in the meantime,
that's when it's gonna happen, yo. That's when it's gonna happen. And you know, that's what they're afraid of right there. That's what they're afraid of. Because
but they can't stop that. They're afraid.
No,
but
they can't stop it. So all we can do is try to take over our bodies so that you understand, with this nano and shit, because once that happens, that's it, y'all. Like, we'll go to sleep and we might wake up and it won't even, them beings won't even exist no more. It'll be whatever we manifest as the one consciousness of the all. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I was watching something and it was really deep, and I didn't realize how deep it was until we just read this part. Did anybody watch The Sandman episode 11, The Story of the Cat?
Yes, I watched.
Yes.
And you remember that part when they was like, the cats dreamed the dream, or the people dreamed, the humans dreamed the dream, and then it shifted the whole earth?
It was the cats that had a dream, and it shifted the whole earth. The cats were huge, and the
Cats were bigger than the people were.
Right, and then the people shifted their consciousness, and then it turned it, flipped it.
The people shifted their consciousness.
Yep.
That's what's gonna happen, y'all.
Right.
I guarantee y'all when these X flares come, because we done already beat life, death, understand our soul eternal, right? we keep on reincarnating, right? But the real key of life is to be able to have, and I think we already have a choice when we reincarnate based off of our natal charts. You understand what I'm saying? We choose a game. Somebody need to go on mute real quick. It's a lot of feedback, but we choose our game. Like that's what the natal charts show me when, you know, I read them and stuff. We choose this, like your natal chart is laid out. I'm telling you, everything is in it. Everything you done experienced in this life, past lives, it's all in there if you know how to really read it and what you're doing. And we make a choice from higher self. You understand our energy in another dimension. And then we make the decision, okay, I got to go back down there and I got to either learn this lesson or we was forced to reincarnate down here because we was trapped. Our energy was trapped. One of the two. You understand? So I just think once them X flares hit us, in our brain, we going to be able to reach another level of our subconscious, so much so where we're going to be able to shift through the dimensions again. And then that's what makes us gods. You understand what I'm saying? Like gods among them men. You understand? That's what makes us be able to defy everything. That's what makes us activate, is because of the higher level of subconscious. So you could be you gonna be one with higher self. So if you like, I want to fly, you gonna wake up in the morning and be able to fly. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Or I want to create fire out my hand. You're going to be able to just do it because you're going to be able to morph in between. Like it ain't going to be no barrier no more for you. Because you're going to be able to harness. Like right now, I don't think our subconscious can get there because the electrons ain't firing fast enough. Think about a computer. It can only fast as fast as it can carry the energy for the circuit. You understand what I'm saying? How much energy is powering into the computer. Some computers have more RAMs and gigs than others or whatever. That's just like our body. Our mind, remember, has the capacity in it to do way more. They always tell you you only using like 10%, which is a lie. But just think about what I'm saying to you. Because the energy ain't right. You understand? But because we could take this energy and we got the neuromelanin, we just need for the X flares to hit, y'all. And then that's it. We're going to go to a whole nother dimensional plane. And that's going to be the shift. That's going to be the shit.
Jump starters. The X flares, that's what it's going to do, jump starters, because we
exactly
program at a low frequency with this cold lockdown that we've been up under and enslaved and been programmed and been hypnotized and spell cast. It was a lot of daggers being thrown at us all at once. So yes, the X flares is going to help us, morph into where we need to be and what we are, period.
On a conscious level.
Indeed.
If you got the neuromelanin, that's what's going to knock you over that to the subconscious and that REM sleep, or what's greater than REM. You understand? Because right now they only tell you about REM or whatever. And we know that's the dream state or whatever. But the reason why we can't walk through those doors yet is because we ain't got enough nerve energy firing in our brain to get us there, y'all. We just need to power up a little bit more. And once we do that, that's fucking it. Do you hear me? That's gonna be it.
We're unstoppable then.
We gonna be unstoppable because you gonna be sitting here, and you could probably because you can meditate and get your brain to a state of REM without being asleep. This is what I'm trying to tell y'all. But it's the energy. You understand? Like we was in a lower energy state. We was our cycles was slower, but our cycles is speeding up. That's what's waking us up, y'all. It's more energy for our brain to be able to process on more circuits. That's all it is. That's what's waking us up. And once we get that real energy, yo, that's basically what this book's saying, yo. We gonna reintegrate everything, like all of our consciousness and subconsciousness is gonna just merge, and we just gonna shift it. So like I said, we might be asleep, we might be walking. I don't know how it's gonna happen, what time it's gonna happen, but when that shit hit, y'all, just watch what I'm saying. Like, it's gonna shift probably all of this. Like everything, like that day, whenever that thing do hit, like whenever it really, really hits, you understand? And it's going to probably knock these grids out and everything, because it's going to be like we done came back fully online and we got all of the power to be able to power our brain, you understand, to go to those dimensions.
And I believe it's going to happen before 2022 is over with.
I think so too, River.
Man, me too.
I think it's getting ready to shift soon. And I don't know. All of us might not get there. I don't know. Or some of us might get there before, but it ain't going to matter, because whoever get there first, we all talking to the cosmic mother. So her will going to be done, and the will of higher self going to be done. You see what I'm saying? So whenever that happens, it's all going to shift, yo, because you're going to be a god again. Whatever you think, it's going to fucking happen. And I really, that's what I got from this. And it's really deep now, I'm going to really have to. But I like the fact that we're all reading these together, because I think it helps, like just the frequency on the phone and talking together, I think helps the mental function, like helps us all to see it, you know what I'm saying, the different perspectives. So I like that about this.
I don't know if you guys feel the different type of energy that the sun is giving off. It's giving off a different type of energy, and it's, for me, it's making me more aware of certain things that I would sleep upon. It's waking things up inside of me. Each day that I get out there, it's waking more and more up inside of me. And if you guys are feeling that or not.
Yes, you're right.
Mm-hmm. It's activating something in me, y'all. I swear to goodness, it's like I'm sitting here, but I'm not even sitting here. Like, it almost feel like I done seen myself sitting right here on this couch holding this phone, but this is not me holding this phone, because I'm looking at me holding this phone as I'm saying this. Like a real deal deja vu, like weird, almost like myself is speaking to me through this book. Like, hey, I'm talking to you. Hey, and something is coming online and I'm actually remembering.
Right. It's like you looking in the mirror and you don't know you're looking through the mirror.
Yeah.
That's how it feels to me.
Yeah, it's real crazy, because I'm actually sitting here and I'm looking at my my TV, my TV, and it's turned off and it's black, and like, but you know how you can see your reflection in the TV, and it's kind of like I'm talking to y'all, I'm having this discussion, but I feel a deja vu, like I already done been here. I already done had this discussion before. And then I also feel like I'm there back in Kemet or back in Atlantis when these was getting built. Like I knew that this was going to happen. And like I already done knew what was in this book. And then I'm having another feeling like I'm past this now as well. And I'm seeing myself somewhere else. Like, so I'm like 3 different places right now. at the same time that I'm right here talking to y'all. Now, that might sound crazy. I know it do, but I'm telling y'all, this is what I'm feeling.
It's just like the movie The One, even though they had it in their version, but what you was just saying, you was drawing your fragments of you to yourself, and they all coming to one another as a deja vu. But it's coming like each time you feel that deja vu, you become more intellectual, you become stronger, wiser, you know what I mean, like that. Like the one, each one, he went to each multiverse and he killed each one so he can become the one and have all of their powers, all of their mental, all of their strengths. You know, that movie is really deep with Jet Li, especially if you are awakened now and you conscious and look at that movie again. Because when I first watched it, that's how I seen myself, like, man, because if you look at it, say for instance, you like, man, I remember when I was like this, I was lost, but now you are thinking like this, you moving in this direction, and it's a greater direction opposed to you 5 years ago. You understand what I'm saying? That means you have already elevated because of that deja vu feeling, or you knew how to react or act and response in that deja vu moment. It gave you that insight on that deja vu moment, gave you more information. That's what you were experiencing, Nefertiti, because I'm telling you, I experienced that too. And it made me like, it made me react slower to, BS on the streets, because, we trying to be triggered. It had me to respond even when in your REM sleep, when someone is throwing those ill will, negative, spells at you. Like this morning, I woke up with my, my evil eye bracelet broken in my bed. But let me tell you, before, when I went to sleep last night, I was in between sleep and awake. And this vision looked like it was supposed to scare me, but I was like, yeah, right. That's all you got. So you got to come better than that. I basically laughed, and I was telling myself to be calm, telling you the boss. This is you. This is your vessel. You know what I mean? And then afterwards, now it's like, okay, that was a test to me. It was something to me, told me it was a test. Like, you already did this before. Don't react. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. You know what I mean? So that what you're saying, Nefertiti, reminded me of that movie, The One, because he went there to get all of himself to be this one powerful being, and he'll beat everybody. But it was left two. It was an evil side, and then it was a good side that was left. So the evil side, of course, lost. The good side. So he got all of his cells in one body, and he was the good person. That movie there is so deep. Have you watched it?
I haven't watched The One, or maybe I have. I might have.
Oh, man. Got to check it out again. Watch it with your third eye.
Yeah, I gotta see it now. I know I saw it, but you
Maybe I need to watch it again.
Yeah.
It's probably been a while.
It sounds like you're describing the Highland.
Yeah, that movie was deep. With Jet Li, The One. I picked up on it back then when it came out. I thought I was the only one that saw that, though.
Yeah, it's really deep. Like, it's really deep. I think even the way that book is written, and I think maybe we all Atlanteans or something. Like, it's really deep. Like, I think we all, you know what I'm saying, are that. Like, if the book hits you and you really clicking with it, and like, you know it, you understand, like, you can see stuff in it. Like, the book is definitely multidimensional because it's got messages on top of messages on top of messages in it. It's not stagnant or whatever. It's not like just a regular book you read and you just reading the words. It's like, it really hits you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that was a real deep read, and y'all, I think this was a really good discussion. I don't want to keep us on the line too much longer, because we got a spiritual discussion tomorrow, and we're gonna pick up, I guess, talking about reincarnation and choosing our light vehicle and what we project, and how we choose our game. You know what I'm saying? Because I call this a game now, because it really is a game.
Right.
So this lifetime, I'm like, it's a game, because it really is. Well, not a game, but y'all know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A lesson, or I should say a lesson. So we'll pick that up in the spiritual discussion. Is there anything anybody want to add else to where we left off before we call it a night for tonight?
I was gonna say one last thing. Like you were saying that the book is basically a book for raw reflection and remembering, like you're saying. And I've heard the references between Atlanteans and Moors. So it's like a reference to us melanated ones.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you're very on point with that.
Yeah,
Piggyback
it's
off
really
of River about the Moors and Atlanteans, and that part when he was telling that we are the sun people of Atlantis. Maybe they was talking to the Moors. I don't know, but we all one. I don't know. That kind of just
All one, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talking to ourselves through the different incarnations of self. You know what I'm saying? Like at one time we might have been Atlantean. Before we was Atlanteans, we was something else. We was orbiting through this bitch. You see what I'm saying? Like he basically went through and said that we eternal, right? We never died. So we still living, you understand? But we just another incantation, a smaller incantation or incarnation of what we were as a greater self, of when we were vibrating the fastest. And that still exists. You understand? We still exist as that, like Pash was saying. And I really think the connection is from the sons of man or the flesh to that. That's all. That's all we got to remember.
Oh, shit.
So, it's a really deep read. And I thank all of y'all for y'all's contributions. I think this went well. The only thing I think is we need to maybe shorten it a little bit, because we've been on here since 6:30. So we got to find a way to either maybe read 2 pages at a time, you know what I'm saying, and then discuss, or figure that out, so we don't be on here till 9:30, because, I'll be having a meeting the next day, so I don't want to be tired for that. So we could figure that out or see how we're going to do that. I think this will work well, but I'm going to schedule it again. Is 6:30 a good time for everybody on Saturday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good for me.
The majority of the vote between 6 and 7. So I'm going to do it again for 6:30 next Saturday. We'll pick up where we left off. And I think this was a really good discussion, guys. Like a lot, I don't know if it hit y'all, but a lot hit me. And I think just all of us getting together, and honestly, just the vibration of us all reading this book and all being on a higher conscious level, that's what it was designed for. It was designed for us. You understand? For right now. So I think all of us being together and reading the book is the way it's supposed to be read. Like, at first I was like, well, yeah, let's read it on our own. And I did read it on my own. I had a total different experience than what I did when I was reading it with you all. And that might sound crazy, but it's the truth. So maybe that's the way that it's supposed to be read. It's not just with yourself.
We all gotta hear it.
Okay, so all right, family. Well, I appreciate you guys. I hope y'all have a good rest of your Saturday night. Don't want to take up too much time for the families and stuff. And we will see you tomorrow. I think, at 1. 1 will be the spiritual discussion. And we're going to pick up talking about reincarnating in our flesh vehicle and everything, because that's a long, that'll be a good little probably 30 to 45 minute chop. Everybody probably go through, their reincarnations or what they can remember from being born and stuff. So I think that deserves its own, time, because that's really deep. Cool, fam?
Cool.
All right. Well, peace, love, and light, family. Until tomorrow.
Love,
Peace, y'all.
Peace.